The first time I saw her, I thought she was a ghost. Not because she was pale or translucent or floating, nothing so poetic. It was the way she moved, silent, precise. Like the world itself had already decided she belonged everywhere and nowhere at once. I was halfway through scavenging the wreckage of a fallen orbital shuttle when something slammed into my back and drove me face first into the dust. My rifle clattered away. My breath left me in a violent cough. Before I could even think about reacting, my arm was twisted behind me, hard enough that I felt the tendons stretch to their limit. "Don't move," a voice said. Calm. Flat. Not a threat. Not a warning. A fact. I didn't move, mostly because I couldn't. The grip tightened slightly, not out of anger, but as if to test compliance. I winced, but then I smiled. I don't know why. Maybe it was the absurdity of it all. Months surviving alone on a broken frontier world, dodging rogue drones, scavenging scraps, only to be taken down in seconds by someone I hadn't even heard approach. Or maybe it was something else. The grip loosened. "Why are you smiling?" she asked. I turned my head just enough to catch a glimpse of her. She wasn't human. Not entirely. Her skin carried a faint metallic sheen under the sunlight, like liquid chrome frozen in place. Her eyes, sharp, reflective, held no visible pupils, only shifting bands of silver light. Her hair, if it could be called that, moved like strands of fiber optics, faintly glowing at the edges. And yet, her face, her expression, it was almost human. Almost. "You're good," I said, voice strained against the dust. "Didn't even hear you." There was a pause. Then she released my arm. I rolled over slowly, raising my hands, not in surrender, but in acknowledgement. She stood over me, perfectly balanced, perfectly still, like a statue waiting for instructions from the universe. "Who are you?" she asked. "Name's Kate," I said. "Professional scavenger, amateur survivor." Her gaze didn't change. "I am not asking for humor." "Good," I said, pushing myself up to sit. "Because I'm not particularly funny." That wasn't entirely true, but something about her made jokes feel unnecessary. She studied me for a long moment, her head tilting just slightly. "You are not afraid," she said. "Should I be?" "Yes." I smiled again. That seemed to confuse her more than anything. Her name was Lyra. At least, that was the closest translation my translator implant could manage. She wasn't from any system I'd ever heard of, and I'd heard of most of them. Her species, if she even had one in the traditional sense, didn't exist in any database I'd scavenged, traded, or stolen. And she was dangerous. Not in the way pirates were dangerous, or mercenaries, or even the automated war machines that still roamed the outer colonies. She was precise danger. Controlled. Calculated. Efficient. We walked through the wreckage together, though together might have been generous. She followed a few steps behind me at all times, her presence constant, her awareness absolute. "You are searching this site," she said. "Yeah." "For what purpose?" "Anything valuable. Power cores, data chips, intact circuitry. You know, survival stuff." She processed that. "You survive by dismantling the remains of others." "Welcome to the frontier," I said. "Not exactly a place for ethical debates." She didn't respond. Instead, she stepped past me and crouched beside a half-buried console panel. Her fingers brushed against it, and the dead screen flickered to life. I blinked. "How did you?" "Residual energy," she said. I redirected it. "Of course she did." "Right," I muttered, "because that's a normal thing people do." "I am not people," she said. "Yeah," I said. "I'm starting to get that." The console displayed fragmented logs, ship diagnostics, system failures, the final moments before impact. Lyra's eyes scanned the data at a speed I couldn't even track. They were fleeing, she said. Most people out here are. From what? I hesitated. Then I shrugged. Depends who you ask.
She turned to me.
I am asking you. I met her gaze. War, I said. Collapse. Things breaking faster than anyone can fix them. Take your pick. She held my gaze for a moment longer. Then she looked back at the console. They did not escape, she said. No. I agreed quietly. They didn't. We made camp that night in the shadow of the wreck. I didn't invite her.
She didn't ask.
She simply stayed. I built a small fire, more for habit than necessity, and sat across from her.
She didn't sit.
She didn't seem to need to. You do not require rest? I asked. I enter low power states, she said. Sounds fancy. It is efficient. Yeah, well, I said, leaning back against a piece of twisted metal. Humans aren't exactly built for efficiency. She watched the fire. For a species that prioritizes inefficiency, she said, you have survived in hostile environments for an unusually long duration. Is that a compliment? It is an observation. Close enough. Silence settled between us. Not uncomfortable.
Just there.
After a while, she spoke again. Why did you smile? I opened one eye.
What?
When I incapacitated you, she said. You smiled. That response does not align with standard survival instincts. I chuckled softly. Guess I'm not standard. That is evident. I thought about it for a moment. Then I shrugged. Because it was the first time in a long time something surprised me, I said. Out here, everything's predictable. Dangerous, sure, but predictable. You came out of nowhere. She considered that. You found unpredictability pleasing? In a weird way, I said.
Yeah.
Her head tilted again. You are an anomaly. Yeah, I said. I get that a lot. The next few days changed everything. We traveled together, though neither of us ever officially agreed to it. Lyra moved with purpose, always scanning, always analyzing. She avoided unnecessary conflict, but when it came, it ended quickly. Too quickly. I saw her take down a rogue combat drone with nothing but a piece of metal debris and her own speed. The thing didn't even register her as a threat before it was dismantled. You could take over this whole sector if you wanted, I told her afterward. I have no interest in control, she said. Then what do you want? She paused. I am searching. For what?
She looked at me.
I do not know. That should have been unsettling. It wasn't, because, in a strange way, I understood. The turning point came when we found the outpost, or what was left of it. It had been attacked, recently. The signs were clear. Scorch marks, structural damage, the kind of destruction that didn't come from scavengers or raiders. Something heavier, something organized. I moved carefully through the debris, my instincts on edge. Lyra followed silently. They're still here, she said. I froze. How many? She tilted her head, listening to something I couldn't hear. 6, she said. Armed. Of course they are, I muttered. Before I could come up with a plan, the first shot rang out. Lyra moved before the sound even finished echoing. She crossed the distance in a blur, intercepting the attacker with terrifying precision. The man didn't even have time to react before he was on the ground, unconscious. The others opened fire. Lyra, I shouted. But she didn't need the warning. She was already moving. One by one they fell. Not killed. Neutralized. Efficiently. When it was over, the silence felt heavier than the gunfire. I stepped forward slowly. They're alive, I said. Yes. You could've. I chose not to.
Why?
She looked at me. You would not have smiled. That hit harder than anything else. We left the outpost behind, but something had changed. In her, in me, that night, as we sat under a sky filled with distant stars, she spoke again. I am beginning to understand, she said. Understand what? She looked at me, her silver eyes reflecting the firelight. Why you smiled? I raised an eyebrow. Oh yeah, yes. And she hesitated, just for a moment. It is not the unpredictability alone, she said. It is connection. I blinked. Connection? You were alone, she said. Then you were not. I looked away, staring into the fire. Yeah, I said quietly. Something like that. There was a long pause. Then she stepped closer. Closer than she ever had before. I do not experience connection as you do, she said. But I am adapting. I looked up at her. And how's that going? She tilted her head slightly. I am still analyzing. I laughed softly. Fair enough. The next morning, everything changed again. The sky lit up with streaks of fire. Ships. Multiple. Not passing through. Arriving. I grabbed my gear, my heart already racing. That's not good, I said. Lyra was already watching the sky. They are not random, she said. They are searching. For what? She didn't answer immediately. Then she looked at me. For me. I felt a chill run down my spine. Friends of yours? No. Figures. The ships began to descend. Fast. We need to move, I said. No, she said. I stared at her. No. I will not run. Lyra, that's a bad plan. They will continue to pursue, she said. This is the optimal point for confrontation. Optimal for who? For resolution. I ran a hand through my hair. Yeah, I hate that word. The first ship landed. Then the second. Figures emerged, heavily armed, heavily armored. Not human. Not anything I recognized. They are here to retrieve me, Lyra said. Retrieve? I echoed. You mean capture? Yes. I looked at her. You sure you can handle this? She met my gaze. Yes. I smiled. Good, I said. Because I'm not sitting this one out. You are outmatched. Story of my life. She studied me for a moment. Then, for the first time, she smiled. It was subtle, barely there, but it was real. The battle was chaos. Blaster fire lit up the landscape, tearing through metal and stone alike. I took cover behind a collapsed structure, firing when I could, trying to stay alive more than anything else. Lyra moved through it all like a force of nature. Untouchable, unstoppable. But even she wasn't invincible. One of the attackers, larger, faster, managed to land a hit. I saw her stagger for the first time since I'd met her. Lyra! I shouted. I didn't think. I moved. I broke cover, firing wildly, drawing attention away from her. It was a terrible idea. I knew at the moment I did it. But it worked. For a second. Then something slammed into me. Hard. I hit the ground, the world spinning. Pain exploded through my side. I couldn't breathe. Through blurred vision, I saw one of them standing over me, weapon raised. This was it. I smiled. Of course I did. Then the attacker flew backward. Lyra stood over me, her expression different. Not calm. Not analytical. Furious. She moved faster than I'd ever seen. The battle ended moments later. When it was over, she knelt beside me. You are injured, she said. Yeah. I managed coughing. Kind of figured that out. You should not have engaged. Probably not. Your actions were illogical. Yeah, I said weakly. I get that a lot too. She looked at me. Why? I met her gaze. Because you would have done the same, I said. She froze.
Processing. Adapting.
Understanding. For the first time, there was no delay in her response. Yes, she said. I smiled. See. I whispered. You're learning. Her hand hovered over my wound, emitting a faint glow. I will stabilize you, she said. Appreciate it. As the pain began to fade, I looked up at her. You know, I said, you still never told me what you're searching for. She met my gaze. Then softly, I believe, she said. I have found it. I raised an eyebrow. Oh yeah. She nodded. Connection, she said. I chuckled weakly. Took you long enough. She didn't respond. She didn't need to, because this time, when I smiled, she smiled back. Ending. Weeks later, the wreckage was gone. The ships that had come for her never returned. And the frontier, well, it was still broken. Still dangerous. Still unpredictable. But it wasn't empty anymore. We traveled together, not as scavenger and anomaly, but as something new, something undefined. And every now and then, when the world surprised us, we both smiled.